I'm so grateful you're here with me today. Please hit that like button and stay until the very end, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel across this beautiful country. I never imagined that at 71 years old I'd have to orchestrate the takedown of my own family. My name is Dorothy Chen, and I live in a beautiful 4-bedroom Victorian house in Portland, Oregon. A house my late husband James and I bought in 1982 for $60,000. Today it's worth $2.3 million. I'm a retired pharmacist with a comfortable pension, substantial savings, and investments that have grown nicely over 40 years. I have 2 children. Stephen, my oldest at 45, is a corporate attorney married to Nicole, a former paralegal who quit working the day after their wedding. They have 2 teenagers, Brandon and Mackenzie. Then there's my daughter Emily, 42, married to Derek, both high school teachers with 3 young children under 10. For years our family seemed normal. Sunday dinners at my house, holiday gatherings, birthday celebrations. I was the proud matriarch, always hosting, always giving. I'd helped both my children with down payments on their homes, paid for my grandchildren's private school tuitions, covered countless emergency expenses. But 6 months ago something changed. It started at Thanksgiving. I'd spent 3 days preparing the meal. Turkey, stuffing, 3 types of potatoes, homemade pies, everything from scratch like I'd always done. 22 people gathered around my extended dining table, 3 generations of family. After dinner, while I was in the kitchen cleaning up, I heard voices in my study. The door was slightly open. I recognized Stephen's voice immediately. "Mom's getting older. This house is too much for her." "She's 71, not 90, Emily responded. "She's perfectly healthy." "That's not the point," Nicole's sharp voice cut in. "This house is sitting on a fortune. Do you know what Portland real estate is worth right now? We're talking over $2 million just sitting here while she rattles around alone." "What are you suggesting?" Derek asked. "I'm suggesting," Stephen said slowly, "that we need to start having conversations about Mom's future. Assisted living facilities, maybe. Somewhere safe, appropriate for her age." "You want to sell her house?" Emily's voice rose. "Stephen, she loves this house. Dad built half of this with his own hands." "Emily, be realistic. Mom's 71. How much longer can she maintain a 4-bedroom Victorian? The property taxes alone are probably killing her. We'd be helping her." "Helping her or helping yourselves?" Emily snapped. "Don't be dramatic," Nicole said coldly. "Stephen is the executor of her estate. He's just thinking ahead." I stood frozen in my hallway, a dish towel still in my hands. Executor of my estate. I'd named Stephen that 20 years ago when he was fresh out of law school, young and idealistic. Before he married Nicole, before money became his religion. I walked into the study. 4 faces turned toward me, guilty shock written across 3 of them. Emily just looked sad. "Mom," Stephen recovered quickly, "we were just talking about—" "I heard exactly what you were talking about." My voice was steady, cold. "And I think it's time everyone went home." The room cleared quickly. Emily hugged me on her way out, whispering, "I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't know they were planning this." After they left, I sat in James's old chair and cried for the first time since his funeral. Not from sadness, but from rage. My own son plotting to take my home. But then I dried my eyes, made myself tea and started planning. The next morning, I called my attorney, Marcus Wu. Marcus had been James's best friend since college and had handled all our legal matters for decades. "Dorothy, what can I do for you?" "Marcus, I need to change my will, immediately, and I need to do it quietly." "What's happened?" I told him everything. The conversation I'd overheard, Stephen's plans, Nicole's calculating voice. When I finished, Marcus was silent for a long moment. "Dorothy, I've known Stephen since he was born. This doesn't sound like the boy I knew." "That boy is gone, Marcus. He's been replaced by someone I don't recognize." "What do you want to do?" "I want to protect myself, and I want to teach my son a lesson he'll never forget." Over the next week, Marcus and I restructured everything. We created a new will, established trusts, updated beneficiaries, and most importantly, removed Stephen as executor, replacing him with Marcus. We also added some special provisions that would come into play later. But changing documents wasn't enough. I needed information. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I did something I'd never done before. I hired a private investigator. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, a former FBI agent who now ran a small private investigation firm. She came to my house on a Wednesday afternoon, professional and discreet. Mrs. Chen, what exactly are you looking to find out? Everything, my son's finances, his wife's activities, why they're suddenly so interested in my assets. I need to know what I'm up against. Sarah nodded, taking notes. I'll need access to some basic information, names, addresses, social security numbers if you have them. As Stephen's mother, I had everything she needed. 2 weeks later, Sarah returned with a thick folder that changed everything. Mrs. Chen, your son is in serious financial trouble. She spread documents across my dining table. Bank statements, credit reports, loan applications. The picture they painted was devastating. Stephen and Nicole were drowning in debt. Over $300,000 in credit card balances, 2 mortgages on their house from repeated refinancing, a home equity line of credit maxed out at $150,000, car loans for 2 luxury vehicles they couldn't afford, and private school tuition they were behind on. How, I whispered, Stephen makes over $200,000 a year. Nicole spends more than that, Sarah said. Look at these credit card statements. Designer clothes, jewelry, spa treatments, luxury vacations. She's spending $15,000 to $20,000 a month on lifestyle purchases alone. I flipped through the statements, sickened. Hermes, Cartier, regular trips to exclusive resorts, all while they plotted to take my home. There's more, Sarah continued. Stephen took out a loan 6 months ago, $500,000 against his expected inheritance from you. He used your estate's estimated value as collateral with a private lender. The loan is due in full in 6 months with 30% interest. My blood ran cold. He borrowed money against my estate while I'm still alive. It's predatory lending. Technically legal if the lender believes the collateral exists. The loan company did their research, saw your property value, and Stephen's position as executor. They assumed he'd inherit and could pay them back. So he needs me to die, or at least needs my house sold. Or he faces defaulting on a $750,000 loan. Mrs. Chen, these people don't play nice when you default. We're talking liens, lawsuits, possibly criminal fraud charges if they can prove he misrepresented his access to your estate. I sat back, my mind racing. My son hadn't just been planning to put me in a home for my own good. He'd been planning it for his survival. What about Emily? I asked. Sarah pulled out a much thinner file. Clean. She and Derek live modestly, they're behind on their mortgage, but only because they're raising 3 kids on 2 teachers' salaries. No excessive debt, no luxury spending. She seems genuinely unaware of Stephen's situation. I nodded slowly. At least I still had one honest child. Sarah, I need you to keep investigating. I need everything documented. Because when I'm ready to move, I want to make sure Stephen can't wriggle out of this. What are you planning? I smiled. For the first time in weeks, I felt powerful instead of afraid. I'm planning to let him think he's winning, right up until the moment I take everything away. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for Stephen to walk into it. The confrontation came sooner than expected. 3 weeks after Sarah's report, Stephen showed up at my house on a Tuesday morning, unannounced, which was unusual. Nicole was with him, dressed like she was going to a charity gala. Mom, we need to talk. Stephen's voice was tight, stressed. Come in. I kept my voice neutral, playing the oblivious elderly mother perfectly. We sat in my living room. Nicole perched on the edge of the sofa like she was afraid the furniture might stain her designer outfit. Mom, Nicole and I have been doing some research. Stephen pulled out a folder. We found some excellent senior living facilities. Look at this one, Riverside Senior Village. It's beautiful, fully staffed, activities every day. I took the brochure, glossy photos of elderly people playing bingo and doing water aerobics. Stephen, I don't understand. Why would I need this? Mom, you're 71. You live alone in a huge house. What if you fall? What if you have a medical emergency? We worry about you constantly. I'm perfectly healthy. Dr. Morrison just gave me a complete physical. I'm in better shape than most 50-year-olds. Nicole leaned forward. Dorothy, it's not just about health, it's about quality of life. You're isolated here, alone with all these responsibilities. Wouldn't it be nice to have people around, activities, meals prepared for you? I like preparing my own meals. I like my home. Mom, Stephen's voice hardened slightly. We're trying to help you. This house is too much. The maintenance, the taxes, the yard work, you're not getting any younger. I have a gardener, I have a handyman. Everything is maintained perfectly. But for how long? Nicole pressed. What happens when you can't manage anymore? When you break a hip or have a stroke? Wouldn't it be better to plan ahead? I looked at my son, really looked at him. I saw the desperation in his eyes, the tension in his jaw. He needed this. He needed my house to save himself. Are you asking me to sell my house and move into a nursing home? It's not a nursing home, Stephen said quickly. It's assisted living, it's different. How much does this assisted living cost? About $4,000 a month, but Mom, you'd sell this house. You'd have more than enough money to pay for assisted living while you inherit $2 million. The room went silent. Stephen's face paled. Nicole's carefully composed expression cracked. Mom, that's not what this is about. Isn't it? I stood up. You think I don't know about your debt, Stephen? Your $300,000 in credit cards, the loan you took out against my estate, the loan that's due in 6 months. Stephen shot to his feet. How do you? Who told you that? That's private financial information. I hired a private investigator. I know everything. The refinanced mortgages, Nicole's spending addiction, the predatory loan, all of it. Nicole's face flushed red. You spied on us, your own family. You plotted to steal my house and warehouse me in a facility. I'd say we're even. We're trying to help you, Stephen shouted. You're being paranoid and stubborn, and you're going to end up alone and helpless. I am alone, Stephen, because my son turned into a stranger who sees me as a bank account instead of his mother. That's not fair, Stephen's voice cracked. I love you, Mom, but I'm also in trouble, real trouble. If I don't pay back that loan, they'll come after everything. They'll sue me, destroy my career, take our house. Brandon and Mackenzie will have to leave their school. Our whole life will collapse. And you thought the solution was to take my life instead. I thought you'd understand. I thought family was supposed to help family. Help Stephen, not rob. You didn't come to me honestly, ask for help, explain your situation. You plotted behind my back to force me out of my home so you could inherit early. Because I knew you'd say no. He was crying now, actual tears. I knew you'd judge me, tell me I should have been more responsible, lecture me about money management. I couldn't face that. I couldn't face disappointing you again. So instead you tried to betray me. That's so much better. Nicole stood up, grabbing her purse. Come on, Stephen. We don't need to listen to this. She's a selfish old woman who cares more about her precious house than her own son's family. Get out, my voice was ice. Both of you, get out of my house. Fine, Nicole headed for the door. But don't come crying to us when you fall down the stairs and lie there for 3 days before someone finds you. I'd rather die alone than live knowing I raised a son who became this. Stephen stopped at the door, his face crumpled with tears and rage. You're making a mistake, Mom. You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you really were sooner. They left. I stood in my living room, shaking with adrenaline and grief, and I made a decision. I wasn't done, not even close. The next phase of my plan required patience. I let 3 weeks pass with no contact. Stephen called twice, both times I let it go to voicemail. His messages were apologetic, desperate. Mom, please, we need to talk. I'm sorry. Let me explain. But I wasn't ready to talk. I was busy. Marcus and I finalized all the legal changes. My new will was ironclad. The house would go to Emily, along with 60% of my estate. 40% would be divided equally among all 5 grandchildren in trust, funds they couldn't access until age 30. Stephen would inherit exactly $1 and a letter. But that wasn't the vicious part. The vicious part came next. I called Stephen's loan company. Using my legal right as the property owner and Stephen's mother, I informed them that Stephen had no claim to my estate, no executor authority, and that any loan made against my property as collateral was fraudulent. The loan company predictably panicked. They immediately called in Stephen's loan, demanding full payment within 30 days. Then I called the managing partner at Stephen's law firm. His name was Richard Thornton, and I'd met him several times at firm events over the years. Dorothy, how nice to hear from you. What can I do for you? Richard, I need to inform you of a situation involving Stephen that could potentially impact the firm. I explained everything. The loan, the misrepresentation, the attempt to fraudulently leverage property he had no legal claim to. I made it clear I wasn't pressing charges, but I thought the firm should be aware that one of their partners had engaged in questionable financial dealings. Richard listened in silence, then thanked me for the information and promised to look into it. 2 days later, Stephen was placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. But I still wasn't done. I contacted Brandon and Mackenzie's private school. As the person who'd been paying their tuition for years, I informed them that I would no longer be covering the costs. Stephen and Nicole would need to make their own arrangements. I called the country club where Nicole was a member, paid for by me through a family membership, and cancelled it. I contacted the luxury car dealership where Nicole leased her Range Rover, a lease I'd co-signed on 3 years ago, and informed them I was removing myself as co-signer. They could repossess the vehicle or Stephen could refinance in his own name. One by one, I pulled away every financial support I'd been providing without them even realizing how much I'd been covering. The house of cards collapsed fast. Within 2 weeks, Stephen called me, not apologetic this time, furious. "What are you doing? You called my firm, you cancelled the kids' school. Are you trying to destroy my life?" "I'm not trying to do anything, Stephen. I'm simply stopping doing things I was never obligated to do in the first place. You wanted to be independent, to not need your mother's help. Congratulations. The loan company is threatening to sue me. I could lose my law license. Is that what you want, to destroy your own son? I want you to face the consequences of your choices. You took out a fraudulent loan. You tried to steal my house. You schemed to put me in a facility against my will. These are your actions, Stephen. I'm just no longer shielding you from the results." "I'm going to lose everything," he whispered. "Our house, my career, everything. The kids will have to change schools. Nicole is talking about divorce. Mom, please, you're killing me. You did this to yourself." "I made a mistake, one mistake. I was desperate. Don't I deserve a second chance?" "You didn't make one mistake, Stephen. You made 100 small choices that led to this moment. And not once in any of those choices did you think about me as a person, as your mother. You only thought about my assets." "That's not true. I love you." "You love what I can give you. There's a difference." He was crying now, big gasping sobs. "Please, Mom, please, I'll do anything. I'll apologize. I'll go to therapy. I'll fix this. Just please help me. I'm your son. Doesn't that mean anything?" And this is where I surprised myself. Because despite everything, despite all the planning and the rage and the vicious revenge I'd orchestrated, hearing my son beg broke something in me. "Stephen, stop. Mom, please. Stephen, be quiet and listen to me." He went silent. "I'm going to help you, not because you deserve it, not because I've forgiven you, but because despite everything you're still my son and I can't watch you completely self-destruct." "Really?" Hope flooded his voice. "Mom, thank you, I promise." "I'm not finished. I'm going to pay off your predatory loan. That's $750,000. I'm going to pay it because I don't want you sued or disbarred over your stupidity." Thank you. But that is all I'm doing. You and Nicole will sell your house, the one you can't afford anyway. You'll downsize, way downsize. I want you in something modest, appropriate for your actual income. You'll get financial counseling. Real counseling with a professional for at least a year. Okay, yes, anything. Nicole will get a job, a real job. I don't care what it is, but she will contribute to your household income. I'll talk to her. The kids will go to public school. No more private education funded by anyone. They'll be fine. Mom, I'm not done. You will attend therapy. Individual therapy to figure out how you became this person, and family therapy with Nicole to repair your marriage or end it honestly. Okays. And Stephen, you need to understand something. I'm not doing this out of love right now. I'm doing this because I refuse to let you destroy yourself completely, because that would destroy me too. But our relationship is broken, possibly beyond repair. We can fix it, he said desperately. I'll do better, I promise. Maybe, but that will take years, Stephen. Years of you proving through actions, not words, that you've changed. Years of rebuilding trust. And even then, I don't know if I'll ever look at you the same way. I understand. My will isn't changing. You're still essentially disinherited. Emily gets the house, the grandchildren get trust funds, you get $1 and a letter explaining why. Silence, then quietly, I deserve that. Yes, you do. But Stephen, if you actually change, if you become someone I can trust again, maybe someday we'll revisit that. Not now, not soon, but maybe. I'll change, Mom, I swear I'll change. We'll see. Now here's what's going to happen immediately. You and Nicole are coming to family therapy with me, Emily, and Derek. We're going to air all of this out with a professional mediator. Everything. The lies, the manipulation, all of it. Nicole won't come. Then you'll be getting divorced because this is non-negotiable. She participates in fixing this family or she's out. I'll tell her. You have 24 hours to decide and confirm. After that, my offer to pay the loan disappears and you face the consequences alone. I hung up before he could respond. The family therapy sessions were brutal. We met twice a week for 3 months, all 5 of us, with Dr. Patricia Martinez, a family therapist who specialized in financial trauma and family conflict. Nicole was hostile at first, defensive, blaming everyone but herself, but Dr. Martinez was skilled, breaking through her walls session by session. What emerged was a woman terrified of being seen as less than perfect, using spending and image to mask deep insecurity. Stephen had to face his own weakness, his inability to stand up to Nicole, his willingness to sacrifice his mother for his comfort. It was painful to watch him break down, but necessary. Emily and Derek were there as witnesses and support, sharing their own feelings of betrayal and confusion. And I had to face my own role. The therapist made me examine how I'd enabled Stephen's financial dependence for years, how I'd paid for things without asking questions, how I'd been the safety net that allowed him to never learn consequences. It was the hardest work I'd ever done, harder than pharmacy school, harder than building a business, harder than grieving my husband. After 3 months, something shifted, not fixed but shifted. Stephen and Nicole sold their mansion and moved into a modest 3-bedroom house in a working-class neighborhood. Nicole got a job as an office manager, hatting every minute of it but doing it. The kids adjusted to public school remarkably well, making new friends and thriving without the pressure of elite private education. Stephen's firm, after their investigation, decided not to fire him but demoted him and reduced his salary. He was no longer on the partner track, but he still had a career. Most importantly, Stephen started showing up. Not for money, not with schemes, but actually showing up. He came to my house every Sunday, helping with yard work, fixing things around the house, just spending time with me. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we didn't, but he was present. Nicole even started coming occasionally, usually bringing homemade food as a peace offering. We weren't close, might never be, but we were civil. Emily and I grew closer through all of this. She'd been my rock, my constant support. I updated my will to reflect that, giving her even more, including the right to live in my house for as long as she wanted after my death, before deciding what to do with it. A year after the confrontation, Stephen came to my house on a Sunday afternoon. He looked different, older maybe, but calmer, more resettled. "Mum, can we talk?" We sat in the garden, the space James had built, where I felt closest to him. I wanted to say something I should have said a year ago. Stephen's voice was steady, clear. "I'm sorry, not just for what I did, but for who I became. I lost myself somewhere along the way, chasing Nicole's dreams, trying to be someone I wasn't, and I almost lost everything that mattered trying to maintain an illusion. I know. I've been working with my therapist on understanding why I did what I did. And Mom, I want you to know I see it now. I see how I treated you, how I used you, how I stopped seeing you as my mother and started seeing you as a solution to my problems. Thank you for saying that. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to change your will or trust me again. I just wanted you to know that I'm different now. Not perfect, still working on it, but different." I looked at my son, this man I'd raised, who'd hurt me so deeply and was now trying to find his way back. "Stephen, I do forgive you." His head snapped up, tears in his eyes. "What?" "I forgive you, not because you've earned it exactly, but because holding on to anger is poison, and I won't let what you did poison the rest of my life." "Mom." "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean everything goes back to how it was. The will stays as it is. You're not executor, you don't get my house. Those consequences remain." I understand. But I smiled. I'm proud of who you're becoming. I'm proud that you're facing this, working on it, changing. That's more important than money or inheritance. That's character. Stephen broke down crying, and I held my son like I'd done when he was small, and the world seemed too big and scary. We sat there in James's garden, healing slowly, piece by piece. That was 3 years ago. Stephen and Nicole are still married, still in therapy, but genuinely better. The kids are thriving. Nicole actually apologized to me last Christmas, a real apology that took courage. Stephen and I have rebuilt something, not the old relationship that's gone forever, but something new, more honest, built on truth instead of obligation. Emily and her family are flourishing. I see them constantly, help with the grandkids, enjoy my role as grandma without any hidden agendas or schemes. I'm 74 now, still living in my beautiful Victorian house, still independent, still strong. My health is excellent, my mind is sharp, and I have no plans to go anywhere anytime soon. Sometimes people ask if I regret how vicious I was in my revenge, how completely I dismantled Stephen's life before helping him rebuild it. And the answer is no, I don't regret it at all. Because sometimes love means letting people fall. Sometimes it means stepping back and letting consequences teach the lessons you can't. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is refuse to be kind. Stephen needed to lose everything to find out what actually mattered. He needed to face real consequences to become a real person. And I needed to show him that I wasn't a helpless old woman to be managed and manipulated. I was still Dorothy Chen, pharmacist, widow, mother, and a woman who would not go gently into any nursing home. So that's my story. My son tried to steal my house, and I orchestrated his complete destruction before carefully helping him rebuild as a better person. Some people think I went too far, others say I didn't go far enough, but I sleep well at night here in my house, surrounded by James's memory and my hard-won peace. What would you have done? Would you have forgiven immediately, stayed angry forever, found some middle ground? Drop a comment and let me know. And if this story resonated with you, if you've dealt with family betrayal or manipulation, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button for more stories about standing your ground, protecting yourself, and sometimes the vicious revenge necessary to save the people you love from themselves. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, being a good parent sometimes means being the villain first, so your children can become heroes of their own lives later.